Welcome to Sliders and Wings, a podcast about the TV show Sliders
and the TV show Wings
and all the other forgotten TV shows of the 90s.
I'm Valerie Temple.
And I'm Rachel Cox. Loyal listeners will tell that I sound crisp and professional because I finally sorted out my mic situation.
Yeah, it only
after 20 weeks. Greg kept saying, it's your computer, it's your computer. And I thought, no, I just got this computer. Did the math, realized this computer's 8 years old. To me, it feels like I just got it. It's older than my children. But the average lifespan of a Mac is 7 years.
Is that true?
Yeah, you Google like how often should I switch a Mac, and it just says they will stop updating the OS of your computer after 7 years.
Oh my God. I hate Macs. I hate them.
I think they're a superior product though.
I know that they're a superior product, but they keep making improvements that I find annoying. They're just like, oh, we want it to be clean and crisp, and because of that, you can't play DVDs. Like you have to get an adapter for everything.
Yeah, I have one of those that plugs in.
And also they're like, oh, we hate cords. Cords are ugly. So we're going to have everything be cordless, but that just means that everything runs out of juice and you're constantly charging it.
I never thought about that. You're right. I mean, I didn't mind a cord.
I love cords.
The functionality problem that I've noticed with Macs is that with the tracking pad on the mice, it doesn't work with a lot of zoom in, zoom out on maps and stuff. Like if I'm trying to zoom in on a map, it'll just zoom in and out on its own.
I hate track pads. So I plug in a mouse to my laptop. I plug in a mouse to everything. Another thing that makes me very old.
This is clearly becoming the theme of the show. We're talking about shows we watched 25 years ago.
I'm officially very old because I turned 40 yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Did you do anything?
Not really. It was a very COVID low-key birthday, even though I could have done something, I think. Everything's rolled back. Everyone's out there doing stuff. And we just ordered a bunch of food and watched Friday the 13th.
That sounds good too. I'm excited to go to the movies again. I think maybe the first one I'm going to see is the new M. Night Shyamalan movie in July.
Oh, what is that one?
It's called like Older or Younger or something like that. I mean, it's about people that go on a beach and then suddenly they're rapidly aging.
Did you see that one where it's two old people and their grandchildren are staying with them?
I don't think that was directed by him. I think he produced it or something, but I thought it was pretty good. I did see that.
Did we see that together?
Perhaps.
We went to see that in the theater together. Yes. Okay. So you did see it. Oh no, now I'm forgetting things. I can't even, it's only going to get worse.
I more forget names of things. I guess that's the first thing to go, right?
Yeah, Rachel, I do know this because that's what I'm constantly cutting out of the podcast.
This is my turn of thought.
Yes. I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to help her out here. Cut out that like.
How am I going to learn if you keep doing that?
That's true.
You're enabling me.
I am enabling you.
I need to start doing Sudoku or something to sharpen myself. Okay, so we're here to talk about Kid 90, which is called a documentary. It's more like one episode of a TV show. It's an hour long. Yeah,
we're not doing a forgotten 90s TV show today. We are talking about a documentary about the 90s, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Kind of. It's basically, I guess it's directed by her too. Soleil Moon Frye, who was famous for playing Punky Brewster in the 80s. For some reason, obsessively recorded everything in her teenage years.
And kept all of her voicemails and all of her
because I think it was on tape. I bet it was easy to keep. She was just throwing them in a box. I think if it was a digital file, that would have been tricky.
I guess so. It's a weird thing to do. The phone calls are the weird thing to me. I understand her just like recording everything. Sure. Fine. But like keeping phone calls, that seems a little weird.
I mean, did you find that you were kind of analyzing her psychology? I was thinking like, why would someone who's been on a TV show want to constantly be also recorded when she's not on a TV show?
Yes, the whole time I was thinking about her and what was going through her mind then, but also what's going through her mind now. Because I do feel like she thinks that this documentary or this project means a lot more than it actually does.
Okay, I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, okay.
I was watching it and thinking, I have only a tentative interest in all these people.
Yes.
I mean, the documentary featured 4 powerful crushes of my youth.
Oh,
Joey Lawrence, Balthazar Getty.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yes. Didn't you see Lord of the Flies?
I did. And, Is he in White Skull?
Yes.
Oh, I just remember what's his name from Party of Five. Scott Wolf.
Balthazar Getty was basically not in a lot of stuff, but he was in Lord of the Flies, White Squall, and this almost straight to VHS movie called Where the Day Takes You. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Dylan McDermott is in it. It's about homeless youth in LA.
Okay.
And it's kind of bad, but I was so obsessed with him that I think I bought it at a Blockbuster and like watched it dozens of times.
I love movies like that are huge deals to you because for some reason your family ended up with the VHS or you got it from Blockbuster and now it's just a part of your DNA and no one else remembers it at all. One of the big movies of my youth was a movie called Feds.
Oh yes, Rebecca De Mornay and
Mary Gross.
The other one.
Yeah, Mary Gross.
I definitely saw that.
It's funny because Troop Beverly Hills, I think, had a big resurgence. People were like, oh, we all love Troop Beverly Hills. This is the movie. And I was like, what about Feds? You want to watch Feds? That's the one.
Feds is like the flip side to Sounds of the Lambs.
Yes.
What if Sounds of the Lambs had been a comedy?
You know how people on YouTube will edit a trailer so it's a different genre of what it actually is? For some reason, I'm like, someone has had to have done a horror version of Mrs. Doubtfire because it's actually
yes,
scary.
I've seen that.
And so of course it was there, but then YouTube is like, oh, you're interested in these trailers? Would you like to see Silence of the Lambs edited as a romantic comedy? And I was like, I do want to watch that. And I enjoyed it thoroughly.
When we eventually destroy the internet, those are the only people that should be left. The people that make funny videos and edit things together that are actually adding to the cultural discussion. So it's Joey Lawrence, Balthazar Getty, Jonathan Brandis, who I remember from Ladybug. I had such a crush on him from Ladybugs.
He was
Sequest.
He's on my list. Jonathan Brandis was very, very, very cute.
Oh, and Mark Paul Gosselaar.
Right.
Only half of the people in the movie did I desperately want to bring me a puppy and kiss me.
Yeah, and Punky Brewster dated like all of them, it seems like.
This is what I think was most interesting. I don't think she said she was a virgin. She didn't date any of these guys.
Well,
they were all her friends.
It seems like she dated Jonathan Brandis. They kissed. I wrote it down. I was like, ooh, kiss from Jonathan Brandis. What a lucky gal.
No, she was her friend.
Whoa.
Also a part where she was dating that guy from House of Pain.
Yeah.
I made the presumption that they were having sex. And later on, she basically says she lost her virginity to Charlie Sheen.
Yeah. Which is
like, so she was dating the guy from House of Pain.
And not giving it up.
And they did not have sex.
Now I'm putting it together why I was thinking about Mrs. Doubtfire because I watched this and the House of Pain guy. I was like, oh, Jump Around. Jump Around is played in the opening scene to Mrs. Doubtfire.
You know Rachel Bloom? So there's a clip of her as like a 6-year-old describing the plot of Mrs. Doubtfire to somebody on TikTok.
I saw that. And it's like so detailed. I really love kids when they're explaining things like that, like little kids.
Then you would love to come to my house.
Maybe I'll be saved from the apocalypse because I do have some internet YouTube video ideas. And one of them is TED Talks, but for kids. Have like a kid standing on a dark stage with like a PowerPoint behind them and they're just telling you about Minecraft.
This is a good sketch.
Yeah, I think it would be funny.
That'd be funny.
They get so detailed about it and you don't have enough information about it either. You're like, I'm not understanding you, but you are really telling me a lot about it. You're telling me a lot, but nothing.
I've only ever had one idea for what I thought was a pretty solid, just the concept of a sketch. And it was a Groundhog Day, but every day you wake up and it's an NPR fun drive.
Oh, God.
And that's the nightmare. I mean, that's basically reality.
Yeah, that is the reality.
So I recently watched the movie, The Kid 90. I just watched it recently. I think if it was more substantial, it'd be longer. I mean, it sounds like she does have a lot of footage, which is kind of cool, but really it's only of interest to her.
Exactly.
People don't have anything interesting to say.
Not at all. And
teenagers don't usually have anything interesting to say is the thing.
Also, she's not a good filmmaker. I feel like
every time that she was saying that one of the friends were saying like, you should record this, you're an artist. And I was like, are you? Artists usually record a bunch of stuff and then let it sit in their attic for 20 years.
Right. And it's like not great footage. It kind of looks like shit. It's very low quality. It's just a bunch of nothing. And basically the only thing that's of interest of it is that the people featured in it are people recognize. So I was watching it. I'm like writing down a list of just all of these famous people.
Did you write more Leonardo DiCaprio? Because that's what I was hankering. Give me
please.
Leonardo.
Well,
He's in there little bits. And
I was happy with the amount of Stephen Dorff because he was. So Jonathan Brandis, Stephen Dorff definitely was a crush of mine.
Oh, really?
Did you watch all the way to the end? The best part of the documentary was one of the like outtakes playing over the credits where it's the interview with Steven Dorff where he's talking to her and he's like, so you thought I was kind of a jerk? And she's like, yeah. He's like, ah. It really made me laugh. It's like, okay. That was part of his appeal to me, that he seemed like a jerk.
Yeah, I mean, there was
sexy jerk.
The only reason that we were watching this is because there's famous people involved. I mean, It has no interest at all except for that.
Right. But the way that she is framing it, she seems to think it is this, once you open Pandora's box, I don't know what I'm going to find, And she is filming herself. It's almost packaged like she's on Oprah. It's not really a documentary. It's almost like a talk show segment about a documentary, It's supposed to be this insight into her youth, which is supposed to, I think, be relatable to everyone. Like, kids do this, kids experiment with drugs, kids go through all of these emotions, blah, blah, blah. But the way that she's kind of put it together, it just seems it lacks insight, is what I'm saying. It's supposed to be, I think,
She's very fake too.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, you just feel like, come on. I mean, she doesn't feel like a real person. She feels like she's acting.
That's what I was gonna say, is that
in the current footage.
In the current footage, it seems stagey. It seems scripted. And for a documentary that's supposed to be about yourself and sort of revealing of yourself, it just seems really fake.
I mean, everything that it was interesting about her from our perspective, we already know, which is
breast reduction. That was a thing. And
I mean, I was surprised when she went to New York. I mean, they kept saying she was going off to college. I was like, well, wasn't she going to just take classes at the actor's studio?
I mean, I guess that counts as college to someone who didn't really go to school. I did find it interesting that she knows all of these famous people. Her entire circle in LA is actors we all know that she sort of grew up with. Her school was basically this group of child actors. And then she moves to New York and immediately falls in with like two people who you also know from the movie Kids.
That's
I was
so
like,
strange.
what?
I was waiting. Why didn't Chloe Sevigny show up? Oh yeah, because she's a girl. Soleil's pathology is that she only hangs out with men. She acknowledges she has some father issues because her father was like there but not there.
There but not there, yeah.
I guess it's better than not being there, but there's got to be some reason why she had like no female friends. I mean, there was two.
There was Jenny Lewis. There was Sarah Gilbert.
That was funny. She was funny in that clip.
Which, by the way, why didn't we get more about the Pussy Posse? That's basically the crew that she was in.
How funny that there was a scene when it was Jonathan Silverman and what's his name? You're making me anxious now that I can't remember his name.
I'm sorry.
The guy from Twin Peaks. He looks like Ashley Hamilton, but he played Bobby in Twin Peaks. And they're both at a party together. And I was just laughing because, we did the single guy.
I do have to say props to Jonathan Silverman because he showed the most personality out of anyone in this whole thing. He's actually like doing like a funny bit. He was making me laugh.
As someone who was a virgin well into adulthood, I was respectful that, it seemed like she was almost being a virgin as an act of contrarianism. She was deliberately doing it. She was open about doing it. It was clear that she could have sex with any of these people if she wanted to.
She said she was the kissing queen. It seems like she was very comfortable with boys and she seemed very, very cool. And it was not relatable to me, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was
what is all this? What's this?
Yeah, I was kind of like struggling with it because I was like, wow, I wasn't even able to achieve popularity in my own high school. And it seems like you're the most popular person in this whole group of famous people. How did you do that? It was just cool.
I found David Austin Green very charming too. I felt kind of bad about secretly making fun of him without his knowledge.
I know.
All the times that I made fun of Brian Austin Green. I mean, he's a person.
That part where he's talking about his rap album, it made me really sad. He was like, that was the first time that I realized that maybe people don't like me. And I was like, oh my God.
But actually that caused me to have my deepest thought of the whole movie, which is, I know that I was a teenager when he came out with that album.
Yeah.
But at the time, whenever someone who's mastered one art form or is famous for some reason tries to do something else, we hate them for it.
Yeah.
They are universally mocked and detested and hated. And that is just a fact. And I was just wondering why that is.
Remember when Keanu had Dog Star?
I mean, Keanu, Jared Leto has that band. Russell Crowe with that band.
That Jared Leto band's popular though. They make money. They're still around. 30 Seconds to Mars or whatever. I don't know. I don't know who listens to it, but I feel like that's in a different
I remember all these bands. Okay, Keanu's band was Dog Star.
Yes.
Russell Crowe's band was 30
30
odd
odd
grunts.
Yeah, 30 odd grunts. We both knew it.
That I can remember. That is in here. Don't worry. I won't forget it. I'll be 80 years old going, 30 odd grunts. Dog Star.
I'll never forget Dog Star. Some people get away with it. I feel like it's less like that now because I feel like there's a lot of different people trying different things, you know.
It's easier to cross over now, especially with the internet. You can cross over from being like a YouTube person to an Instagram influencer, or you could be on one TV show now that doesn't even do well and then like finagle that into getting paid to do ads on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that was my deep thought about this documentary was, so essentially it's about growing up in the limelight and what's that like, how it changes you or how it affects.
But see, she didn't talk about the business really at all. I would have probably loved to hear that. I mean, she just glazed over it.
Yeah.
More about auditioning and what it was like on set. And the most we got of that was when Mark Gosler said that, you know, some director said to him, the second you get on that stage, you're an adult and you're gonna be treated like an adult. And that's why I won't let my kids be actors, because it is an adult business. And now part of me thinks that this doc is intended as a springboard into a feature film. Like she wants to maybe write a screenplay that would be, I mean, I would rather see it as a fictionalized version of what happened to her with more stuff in it, more conflict.
I guess that's the
besides everyone dropping dead of a suicide from this Black Widow that they're surrounded themselves with.
Not to be rude to Soleil Moon Frye or anything, but there are 8 people dead by the end of this documentary by their own hand. And she says, I wish I was paying attention. I wish I would have listened to people. Well, do you think maybe after the second person killed themselves that you'd, I don't know, pay attention? She shows footage of friends of hers being like, I want to kill myself. And she's like, I guess I should have listened. I'm like, yeah, maybe.
Other people I didn't recognize.
I had to look them up. And they were like actors, but were in one thing and not a big thing. So
yeah. Well, I looked up the Stephen Dorff's brother thing, Andrew Dorff, and it was just some bizarre thing where the details are unknown. He was in a hot tub drinking or whatever, and then he drowned, and then something happened. And
I also looked up, there was the woman who's credited as Shannon Wilcox, who got into the car accident and shot herself. She's actually a pretty famous porn star.
Yes,
Savannah. Yeah.
I never heard of her either.
I had not heard of her either, but I mentioned it to Aaron. I was like, her name is Savannah. And he's like, oh, Savannah. Oh yeah. I'm like, okay. She like broke her nose. Yeah, it's very odd.
But she didn't even go to the hospital. She went home, called her agent, said, I broke my nose in an accident. And the agent got to her house and she had shot herself.
Yeah. It's really grim.
Yeah. Does any, in Soleil's defense, a few of them, like Jonathan Brandis clearly was one of her best friends, but the other people, we don't have an idea of how well she
how close they were
at some point. So
yeah.
And she also seems like someone though who greatly exaggerates the depth of her relationships with people. Yeah.
There are people who are friends with a bunch of people, but only very lightly. They're a social butterfly, but none of their relationships are very deep. And then there's other people who are, I don't have a lot of friends. I've got a close circle and I'm really close and I know a lot about those people. And I think she's more of I don't have deep relationships, but I do know a lot of people. It's just like very surface. And I think that's probably why the documentary is not that great. It's very surface. She's got this footage, she's got this stuff, but she doesn't really know what to do with it. And she also doesn't really even seem to understand what could be interesting about it. She doesn't even really seem to know what she's asking.
It's in the name.
Yeah. Kid 90, you know, like I'm a kid. Because it almost seems like the movie is set up in like segments. We're going to go into her breast reduction drama. Then we go into a segment about how that didn't really even help. So she did all of these horror movies and bad stuff. And then we go into a segment about getting high, teenagers experimenting with drugs. Then we go into her virginity. Then we go into suicide. And then we go into rape. So it's not really connected. It just seems like these like different segments. It's sort of reporting on it. Here are the themes I noticed in the footage. So we're going to kind of put these together.
It's basically like a behind the scenes, behind the music about her.
Yes.
And they were trying to find a way to also show other famous people.
Yes.
So they just showed other famous people, but then only delved into them so slightly. Like I could have listened to 20 more minutes of Mark Paul Gosselaar talking about, I don't know, the weather that day, whatever.
Yeah.
Side note on Mark Paul Gosselaar. The last thing I saw him in was a show called The Passage, which was an adaptation of a book trilogy about vampires that was actually a pretty big hit. And I read the first book, which is called The Passage. And it's really, really good. I didn't read the other two though, because They were really long. I just want to say that I watched this and I found him to be a very capable actor. Very good, with a lot to offer and still very attractive.
He works. I mean, you're talking to a person that watched every single episode of NYPD Blue not that long ago, and he was really good. Rachel, you should watch it. It's really good.
Is it like Law and Order?
No, it's policey. It's about a police station and
like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I am so curious to see what Brooklyn Nine-Nine comes back with post George Floyd.
Yeah. Everyone loves the police. Like, how light and funny, you know?
They were pushing it to begin with.
Yeah.
Laughing around murder scenes and stuff and like pranking each other while like people are dropping dead in the street.
Yeah, it's like The Office, but around gruesome.
This is like Scrubs.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like funny doctors either. Take this seriously. I have cancer, you know? I don't need these jokes. No, NYPD Blue is great. So what's his name? Oh, now it's contagious. Oh my God. What? Who's the guy who plays Sipowicz? Jesus Christ. Hold on.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
The guy who showed his butt.
Yes. Dennis Franz. So Aaron and I, whenever we're really watching a show together, we always come up with a nickname for the show so that we don't have to say, oh, let's watch more NYPD Blue. That's boring. So we just called the show Butts. And then we watched The Americans. We called that show Wigs.
Look at the Wigs and Butts.
Right. Well,
lots of butts in that too.
We watched Homeland. We called that Jazz Thoughts.
Oh wait, are we done with Kid 90?
Are we done with it? I also laughed at the quote at the end of the documentary. The true art of memory is the art of attention. Samuel Johnson. It's like, okay, guess who's an artist now? Soleil. Did you also see it was executive produced by Sean Penn?
Yes. That was strange. He's got his fingers in lots of pies.
I guess. He's like, I'll help subsidize Soleil Moon Frye's vanity project. Good for me. I guess wouldn't recommend.
No. I mean, yeah, I was kind of bummed. I don't know what I expected, but
I don't know what I was wanting, but I thought that it would be a little bit more, it would delve a little deeper, I guess. We would come away knowing a lot more about her as a real person and what her life was like. And I really don't think we got that at all. It really just felt really fake. It was like this really pretty package.
Yeah, it didn't have any insight, and it also couldn't decide whether it was about all of them or just her. Like, I think it could have been about teen actors in the 90s. Yeah. That could have been the topic, and they could have given equal time to Mark Gosselaar, Balthazar Getty, Stephen Dorff. I mean, they all probably had like amazing stories to share.
I thought there was potential. Those interviews that she did, I feel like could have been something interesting. I just didn't think she was the person to ask the right questions. Maybe she was too close to the material or something.
I felt annoyed on their behalf that they came to the studio and they were let her interview them and all this stuff, and then it just wasn't put together well.
Yeah, can you imagine going up for this thing and basically she's just like, check out this footage that I shot of us when we were teens. Isn't that neat? Okay, is that it? You know?
I did have another thought about this, which is I have a few boxes of, old memorabilia in my basement. I did keep journals on and off, cards from friends at camp and photos and things like that. And I think that the greatest gift that this documentary has given me is that it's given me permission to just throw them away. They're not interesting. They're interesting in a very fleeting way. Like you look at them and go, huh, that's it, really. I mean, they don't really add any value to your life.
I mean, it's sort of like someone describing their dream to you. You're like, if I'm not in it, I don't care, and even then it's not great. It's still super boring. And I feel like the reason that Hulu bought this documentary is that they thought that the fact that people in the footage were people we would recognize, that would be enough to pull us in, but it's not really,
Well, it did, but
it did. We watched it for that reason, but then, we come away disappointed because who cares? That didn't really tell us anything.
The movie and the footage is basically nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. It's nostalgia without any kind of historical context or insight. There was one point when, I don't even know why they included it. They have an interview with Perry Farrell. They talk to him for like 10 seconds and they never show him again. I think Perry Farrell had something interesting to say because he started explaining how he made a comment about how it was pre-internet. It was this big blowout right before the internet changed everything. And Mark Paul Gosselaar makes another comment like that. Like, you know, you would go out and people would take photos of you and it wasn't a big deal because there was nowhere for them to post them or share them. That would have been interesting.
This is what my big thought was, that the movie is about growing up in the limelight in the 80s and 90s and how weird that is. But now with the internet and social media, it feels like every kid is growing up in the limelight to some extent. And so
that is deep.
Don't you think that's deep?
Now, I had a similar thought the other day, like, what if they outlawed people putting their kids on Instagram?
Right.
Like, what if it was theoretically illegal to make money off your kids on Instagram?
It doesn't sound like a bad law to me. Nope. I thank my lucky stars that I didn't grow up with social media because I feel like I didn't need another avenue to be bullied in. You're like,
I'm so glad that I'm the age I am.
Now, just regular kids are being observed. They're on display. Whatever they post, people are taking it in as if they are famous to some extent. So the whole game has changed, and really not for the better, because I guess that's what maybe I wish she would have, the conclusion she would have come to is, hey, it kind of sucked for me to grow up in this way. And the fact that now all kids are sort of growing up in this way is kind of a problem. But she doesn't really get there. And also, like, I don't know if she actually thinks that, I don't know if she really has that many deep thoughts about how she grew up.
It's all very much about her.
It was like, it was nice. I had a good time. These were fun times, but there was also darkness. But she doesn't really like connect it to the industry.
Yeah, even when people die, it's still about her.
Yes.
I'm wondering if something will change before my kids are old enough to want to be on social media or something, because I'd like to just
take a pass on that.
Take a pass if possible.
Anti-Instagram moms are like the anti-TV moms of like the 90s.
And for anyone out there who thinks that it's okay for teenagers to be on social media, look at the Instagram account of a 12-year-old. Just for if you just scroll through, it's so embarrassing and stomach churning. But I remember being 10 or 11, and we briefly had the Disney Channel, and I would watch the Mickey Mouse Club, and I wanted to be on it. And I remember like one night crying that how am I going to get on it? I mean, I wasn't going to ask my parents to do anything. It seemed like an insurmountable achievement, but just crying and sad that I could never. Thank God I never tried.
Yeah, aren't you glad? I mean,
I got scouted by a model scout when I was, 14 or 15 on the National Mall.
Wow.
And it was the only modeling agency in DC. And we did a meeting with them, and they wanted me to like take some modeling class. You pay a lot, like $1,000, take this class, and you with your portfolio pieces or whatever. Thought about it, couldn't decide if it was a scam, or my parents and I were like, is it a scam? We can't tell. We don't know. Maybe like if you're that great looking, they just pay for it. Maybe if you're, like, I don't think it's necessarily a scam, but like maybe I was just okay.
Rachel, you were just tall.
Just tall. I was the right body shape.
We're both tall. And so I also have a similar kind of story. And I was like, I am not a model. There is no way. You know that joke, that episode of 30 Rock where she goes to Cleveland? They're like, you could be a model. Are you a model? To Tina Fey? That actually happened to me in Cleveland after I moved here. I was at a thrift store and the cashier was like, have you ever modeled before? I was like, no.
I am visiting you ASAP.
Exactly. Get on a plane because, man, the bar is low here. You just feel gorgeous.
I listened to this podcast that's hosted by two guys, and they do talk a lot about, not a lot, but they will use like a number system, a DC-4. In terms of men and women, right? But like attractiveness ratings, and it was so jarring at first to hear that, but then I'm like, you know what, let's just be real.
I used to joke about how there should be like a self-esteem bus tour that took New York 7s on a trip to Philly, and they'd just be a Philadelphia 15. It's $1 million idea, Rachel.
But wasn't there some business where they would take single ladies in New York who like couldn't find a man, and they would match them with capable masculine men in more rural areas?
Oh, maybe. Do you remember like the wild and woolly west of early reality television?
Joe Millionaire?
Yeah, like a lot of the premises were kind of mean-spirited. And I remember it was a Fox television show. Those were always the worst because it was just, the littlest Bachelor. And there was one where they're all wearing luchador masks. Oh, and then there was Average Joe. I think that was on NBC, where there's a beautiful lady and she thinks she's going to have her pick from a bunch of gorgeous guys, but it's actually Average Joe's. So it's basically a big prank against everyone who signed on to be part of the show. But anyway, there's a very memorable one to me that I watched one summer on Fox, and it was called Bachelorettes in Alaska. And it was just these women who were from New York or LA, and they just felt like the women to men ratio was not in their favor. So Fox just put them all on a flight and sent them to Alaska to flirt with lumberjacks.
I used to watch a lot of reality shows that time too, but one of the Flava Flav ones where he was trying to find a date, one of the girls pooped on the floor.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of
Yeah.
She like had to go. And she just like bent down and pooped in the middle of like the ballroom floor. That was a highlight for me. I don't know what your body type was when you were 14, but I do think that if you catch a girl who's of the right age and is just hitting puberty and is tall, you grab them when they're thin before they start filling out, and then you just give them an eating disorder.
Right.
I mean, it could have worked out.
When I was 14, I was super tall, but I had not developed my bosoms yet.
Could have been a model.
I could have been a model for like 6 months.
But see, you would have been so starved, puberty wouldn't have come on.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You're knocking yourself, but you could have done it.
I could.
No, when I first met you, I was like, this girl's gorgeous.
Aw,
yes,
thank you.
Beautiful.
You're very striking. I could see it. I could actually see it. You'd be one of those, this isn't a diss, but like alien.
Not every model is, I mean, I would have been one of the androgynous
ones.
I've
definitely seen some models that remind me of you. So
if we're going to branch out into 90s movies, we could watch Pret-a-Porter.
Oh my God. I was just thinking about that movie the other day.
We started talking about Girls 5 Eva. So now we've both seen it all.
We've both seen it all, and I really liked it.
They have the songs on Spotify.
And the songs are really funny.
Very good.
They are earworms.
Video. Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Queen G is really good too.
Yeah. Okay, so you said it doesn't really heat up until episode 4. I started really paying attention episode 3 because I really liked the New York Lonely Boy idea.
Oh my God, no, that's good. That was by the Milk Carton Kids.
Yeah. New York Lonely Boy, that is a thing. I mean, that's why Oscar has a brother, right?
Exactly. You didn't want to be a Philly lonely boy.
You didn't want him to be a Philly lonely boy.
His favorite food is sushi. He's best friends with the doorman.
When she's putting it together that his friend is the doorman, she's like, no.
A highlight was when they're at the cabin and then they go into the owner's closet and the owner is sitting in there. I laughed so hard.
Yeah.
She's like, it says owner's closet.
In a broom closet, you'd expect to find a broom there. I mean,
okay, so I only have one complaint about the show, which is, well, it's also a question. I wonder if they regretted giving Summer a daughter because she did not fit into that character's development at all. She is just abandoned. Her presence doesn't make sense. Her existence doesn't make sense.
They don't even give a nod to her at all.
Summer's off doing things and there's no one taking care of this 10-year-old.
No, not at all. I didn't even notice it, but that's probably because I just maybe even forgot that she did have a kid. Because she's really only mentioned in the first episode and then that's it. So
yeah. I mean, she just, I don't know. It doesn't seem like this character could have actually taken care of a child.
No.
Got her to the age 10.
She's dumb. She's a dummy.
I don't love Busy Phillips. I thought she was okay in the role. I mean, her actual personality I find very grating.
Yeah. Busy Phillips kind of gets a pass for me for her entire life, whatever she does, just because I love her as Kim Kelly so much in Freaks and Geeks. And so whenever I see her, I like to see her. You know, I'm like, oh, there she is, my old friend.
And it does appear that her entryway to celebrity and an acting career was dating Colin Hanks in college.
Whoa.
Yes, they just went to college together and they were college sweethearts.
Ah, weird.
And then she got on Freaks and Geeks.
And then she was on Dawson's Creek. And then she was on some episodes of ER along with Linda Cardellini, which, by the way, Soleil Moon Frye in her teens looks just like Linda Cardellini.
I thought she looked like Nev Campbell sometimes too.
Yeah, a little bit. So that song, I'm Afraid, that is Rachel Bloom level hilarious. How it starts off, the first phrase sounds like a real song, and then it just goes straight into Jibs. Oh my God. It's
that
so
episode
funny.
where she writes it and where Tina Fey plays Dolly Parton.
Yeah. And she's really, really good. I was just like, oh God. And
the way she held her hands. And she's like, darling, I don't think you know a lot about Dolly Parton. Didn't you write Coal Miner's Daughter? She goes, honey, no.
Loretta Lynn.
Lynn.
That was Loretta Lynn.
Guy who played the, oh God, I can't remember his name either. He played the Beeper King, but he plays her brother.
Dean Winter.
Dean Winters, who I used to have a huge crush on. When
he
played a detestable character in Oz on HBO's Oz.
Oh, wow. I know him from 30 Rock.
You probably like Oz.
I watched the first season of that show. It was a lot for me. It's not a fun show.
No.
It's like the opposite of Girls 5 Eva. You're like, what's happening?
Struggling to find other things on Peacock to watch, as I told you, but I did end up going to AP Bio, which I can't figure this show out. I don't know when it actually airs, but apparently it's on ABC or something, but each season only has 10 episodes. So is it airing once a month? I don't get it.
Maybe it's just always a mid-season replacement.
I don't want 30 episodes of it. I'm just...
Truly, I didn't even know it was still on, so it's news to me.
But I need your perspective on the show because I can't find anyone writing about this anywhere. But the show has the blues and yellows turned up, the saturation. What the fuck is up with that?
Oh.
It's so weird. Everything in the show is blue and yellow.
So it's like Traffic, the movie Traffic.
I would say it's more extreme because Glenn Howerton, the main actor, his eyes are like normally blue, but with the saturation they're doing, they're hyper blue. Like just looks freaky. Everything looks like all the blue things are glowing.
Oh God. Stylistic choice? I don't know.
I've just never seen that on
just like a sitcom.
I mean, I guess normally you see things that are desaturated. You don't normally see things that are hyper.
I have no answers for you.
I mean, Paula Pell, she's the commonality. She's also on.
Is she? She's on that too? Oh, I love her.
So I think it's worth a watch. I mean, she's in it quite a lot. And Patton Oswalt.
So funny. Paula Pell, I'm so glad that she's gotten to
her song was Rekindling. That reminded me of Amy Sedaris, the lady in the woods who lives in the woods. That Amy Sedaris show. I
appreciated the casting of her ex-lover. I was like, this is a really, I was
wondering if it was her real girlfriend because I know that Paula Pell has a younger female girlfriend who's also a comedian.
All right. Well, I guess I'll investigate that. I'll tell you about it at housekeeping. I'll also look into the saturation, see if I can do some detective work for you. So
okay, good. I don't have anything to watch. I feel like I feel really homeless. Like I have nothing.
Yeah, you're adrift.
I have nothing to anchor me.
Yeah, you're adrift. I watched all of Girls 5 Eva this week, so that was basically what I had going. Didn't really watch anything else. I am reading something that you might appreciate, or maybe you won't appreciate. I'm reading that Shusha book.
From Temple University Press?
Yes, the academic tome written by an academic, published by Temple University Press. Shusha, the mega marketing of gender, race, and modernity. And chapter 4 is called Shaping the Future with an X.
Well, maybe the Temple University Press will publish our book on
they might
1990s television.
I mean, I almost want to write this lady a fan letter because you're doing the work.
You nailed it on the Shusha.
She wrote the book before Shusha even had a show in America too. She was like obsessed with her in Brazil. And there's a lot of interesting stuff about the Brazilian version of the show. And
I find it so hard to read nonfiction. Like my mind wanders. Yeah, because it's so dense, right? A nonfiction book is like, in 1954, he took 6-month trip to, I'm like, okay, 1954, okay, and then 6 months ago. Every sentence is just...
You have to pay attention. Rachel, you have a problem with that, though. You got to pay attention.
I'm trying to think, but there are nonfiction books that are written in a more layperson loose way that I've read. I have read books.
I know that you have. I know that you have.
It does seem like a lot of people I know now think they have attention deficit disorder. And I am not here to challenge anyone's diagnosis, but I think we all do because, I mean, the internet just ruined
all of our brains.
Yeah. Someone even told me, we were talking about business stuff, and she was like, I think you might have attention deficit disorder. I go, no, I just have lost my ability to focus
also
online and on my phone. Oh, sorry, phone.
And I read a lot because I don't drive. And so I take public transportation and I just read on the bus or read on the subway. And also you have to sort of make a habit of it. So I'm making the choice, I guess, to read instead of messing around on my phone for that 45 minutes or whatever. Yeah. So I guess I am making a choice for my health. I'm
going to ask you a controversial question.
Yes.
Is listening to an audiobook reading a book?
No, it isn't.
I agree.
I am adamant about this.
Now, the downside of this opinion is that it means that no blind people have ever actually, if a blind person listening to an audiobook is not really reading. I'm sorry. If they read a book in Braille,
yeah,
that counts.
Yes.
But I say that half the challenge of reading a book is reading it.
Yeah.
Listening to it.
I also can't listen to audiobooks because I drift.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot pay attention to it.
I only listened to one in my entire life, and I found it so distracting because it was a fiction book and the person was doing different voices for different characters.
Oh, I hate that.
And it was a woman, when she did the man's voice, she deepened her voice, or when the man did the woman's voice, he lightened her voice. And I was like, this is so goofy.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. Yeah, it's a completely different experience than just like reading a book and your brain is doing all of the work. That's what reading is to me. Sorry.
We actually have an official stance.
Yeah, that is the Sliders and Wings stance. You got to read with your eyes, now with your ears. Okay, That's it. Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, have a good night. Don't recommend it. Don't watch Kid 90.
Yeah, don't watch Kid 90, but
Oh, but unless you want to watch it and then email us about what you thought, that'd be fine.
Yeah, at slidersandwings@gmail.com. I haven't checked that email in so long, so you could have emailed us and I would never know. So
I'm going to check it now, just in case.
All right.
All right. Night, Val.
Night. Bye.